Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning into today's video. We have more gaming and PlayStation news, rumours and leaks to go over. A shout out and a huge thank you to the God of War and Uncharted channel members. If you're new here to the channel, consider subscribing and becoming a channel member. Let's start with the upcoming Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which is set to release on April 17th for the PS5. Now, if you're someone who still prefers physical game discs over digital downloads like I do, there's something you should know. The PS5 disc version of the game doesn't actually contain the full game on the disc. Crazy, isn't it? Instead, it only holds around 20 gigabytes of data, which means a significant portion of the game, more than 100 gigabytes, will still need to be downloaded online. And this information came to light by Retro Game Future, which featured what looks like the cover art for the French version of the game. On the box, it clearly states that an internet connection is required, even if you're using the disc, which to be fair is not that uncommon, as most games now require some kind of an internet connection. But those without reliable internet or with limited data, that could be a real barrier. And to put things into perspective, the full game weighs in at around 125 gigabytes. Despite that, Bethesda, the game's publisher, didn't go with the usual dual disc setup or try to pack more onto a Blu-ray, which is a bit surprising considering how massive the game is. It's bitterly disappointing that more and more games are now just downloaded and the disc pretty much acts like a key. But I suppose more and more companies are doing this as we head towards an all digital future, something which I feel we are all going to have to embrace as time goes on, something that I am not looking forward to. I love my physical discs and I'm always going to be buying physical copies until the time comes when you can no longer purchase physical games. But let's talk about performance, because Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is set to be a technical showcase, especially if you're planning to play this on the PS5 Pro. Machine Games, the developers behind the game, recently confirmed that the game will take full advantage of the more powerful hardware, and on the PS5 Pro, players can expect native 4K resolution, smoother and more stable frame rates, and improved ray tracing for better lighting and reflections. All of these upgrades aim to provide a more visually immersive and consistent gameplay experience, even if you're playing on the standard PS5 model, though the game should still run great. It's been optimized for faster loading thanks to the console's SSD, and the game will use both the CPU and the GPU effectively to hit a smooth 60 frames per second, all while delivering high quality visuals. Another cool addition is the support for the PS5's DualSense controller. The game will make use of adaptive triggers, haptic feedback, and even the light bar, which changes colors to reflect Indiana Jones's in-game status. It's a small detail, but it adds another layer of immersion and polish that players will appreciate. So while the physical version might be a little bit of a letdown in terms of not having the whole game on the disc, the gameplay experience itself, especially on the PS5 Pro, looks very, very promising. Let me know if you're planning on picking this up in a few days' time, and let's move on. Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, the sequel to Hideo Kojima's unique post-apocalyptic delivery game, is bringing something new to the table, especially when it comes to how players deal with difficult parts of the game. According to a recent translation of Kojima's own radio show, the game will include an option that allows players to skip certain boss fights if they're too challenging, but instead of just cutting them out entirely, the game will replay these moments in the form of a visual novel, using images and text to describe what happened during the battle. It's kind of like watching a stylized recap of the event rather than fighting through it yourself. The feature shows up as an extra option on the Game Over screen, sitting just below the usual Continue button. It seems like it's being designed for players who might struggle with combat but still want to experience the story and progress through the game. It's also worth mentioning that this is expected to be completely optional and may only be available on the lower difficulty settings. So if you're someone who enjoys the challenge, nothing is being taken away from your gaming experience. As you'd expect, not everyone's thrilled about this. Some people are already criticizing it, saying it's just another example of modern games holding players' hands far too much. But at the same time, it's hard to argue against the option that makes games more accessible. Not every player is in it for the challenge. Some are there for the story, the world building, or simply the vibe of the game. And Death Stranding is a game that thrives on atmosphere and narrative just as much as gameplay. So if a feature like this helps more people reach the end and enjoy the full gaming experience, that feels like a win, surely. What do you think? Should games include these types of features? Personally, I don't see what's wrong with it. It's an option, right? It may seem more like hand-holding, but some players may need that or appreciate that. And by the sounds of things, it's on the lower settings, so I don't really see how it impacts players playing on normal or the harder difficulty settings. Seems like a nice option to me. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and let's move on. So, bad news if you're planning on picking up a PS5. Sony has officially raised the price of the standard PlayStation 5 in several countries, including the UK, across Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. The increase applies to both the digital and the disc versions depending on the region. So what's actually going on? Why are Sony doing this? Well, Sony explained that the decision comes as a result of what they're calling a challenging economic environment. Basically, high inflation, shifting exchange rates, and the general cost of doing business globally have led to these price hikes. Now, here's the key part. The price change only affects the base PS5 model. The PS5 Pro, which is Sony's more powerful mid-gen upgrade, is not being affected. In fact, to soften the blow a little, Sony is actually lowering the price of its standalone disk drive attachments for the PS5 Digital Edition. That add-on will now sell for around $69.99 in the UK and $79.99 in Europe, and similar pricing across Australia and New Zealand. So if you're wondering about the actual numbers, here's a quick rundown for you. In Europe, the PS5 Digital Edition now costs €499. In the UK, it's priced at £429.99. In Australia, the standard disc version is up to 829 Australian dollars, while the digital version is $749. Over in New Zealand, the disc version now costs $949 New Zealand dollars, and the digital edition is $859 New Zealand dollars. It's also worth noting that this isn't the first time Sony has raised the prices. This is actually the second price increase in just a few days, with the PS Plus subscription tiers also seeing higher pricing in several Latin American and Asian countries. So if you're thinking about picking up a new console, these price changes are definitely something to consider, especially if you're outside of North America, where prices haven't been affected, well, at least for now. Yeah, really disappointing that prices for everything just seem to be going up right now. There doesn't seem to be an end in sight for the ever-increasing rises in cost. Hopefully this doesn't affect you too much if you're planning on picking up a PS5 over the coming months ahead. But let's move on. So while Activision hasn't officially revealed this year's title just yet, new details have leaked about Call of Duty 2025, which could be a direct sequel to Black Ops 2. According to a Reddit user who claims to have taken part in a playtest or feedback session and then summarized by Insider Gaming, the next Black Ops game might be set in the year 2035. The story would once again focus on familiar characters like Woods and Mason, and there are some interesting changes in the works. One of the biggest potential features is a 4-player co-op story mode set on an open world map called Avalon. This is a pretty big shift from the usual linear campaign experience we're used to in Call of Duty. From a gameplay perspective, the game could bring back something called Omni Movement, which gives players more freedom to move in all directions, kind of like what we've seen in past futuristic Call of Duty titles. Zombie mode also looks like it's getting some love. The link suggests it'll bring back the original crew as alternate versions of themselves from a multiverse storyline. There's also talk of a round-based structure, a difficulty selector, and even a remake of the popular Transit map. In multiplayer, things sound pretty large-scale, with a 32 versus 32 player mode reportedly in development. Expect classic elements like kill streaks, perks, and grenades to return, along with map remakes that feature Japanese-inspired aesthetics. Progression might even carry over from Black Ops 6, keeping your grind intact across the games. None of this is confirmed by Activision yet, and things could change before launch, so remember to take everything with a pinch of salt. But if the leaks are accurate, Call of Duty 2025 is shaping up to be a really ambitious entry in the series. We'll likely see more official information drop later this year, perhaps at the Xbox Summer Showcase in June. Are you a fan of Call of Duty? And if you are looking forward to Call of Duty 2025, let me know in the comments down below, and let's move on. Marathon, which is Bungie's upcoming extraction shooter. This is the studio's first new IP in years, and they recently hosted a live stream to give us our first proper look at the game. The release date has now been confirmed and is officially set for September the 23rd. And it'll be coming to PC, PS5 and the Xbox consoles with full crossplay and cross-save support across all platforms from launch. This means no matter where your friends play, you can all squad up from day one. Now, Bungie was open about the gameplay mechanics. Marathon is built around 3-player squads dropping into large maps to complete objectives and extract with valuable loot. If you die before extraction, you lose everything, just like other games in the genre. But here's the twist: your teammates can revive you at any time during the match by accessing your stash, which should help take some of the sting out of losing a good run. Each player character or runner has its own unique abilities that determine their role or class within the team. You can equip shields of varying strengths similar to Apex, but your actual damage output will depend solely on your weapons. Maps will offer different missions depending on your faction goals. Some objectives will involve gathering materials, whilst others will send you into heavily guarded zones controlled by the game's AI enemies. Keys found in one mission might open doors in the next, adding another layer of long-term planning to your runs. At the game's launch, the game will include 3 maps, with a 4th set to drop shortly after the release. Bungie has also confirmed that the game will be a premium title, meaning you'll need to pay to play, but it won't be priced as high as most AAA games. That said, no official pricing has been announced yet, though it will likely be revealed closer to the summer. We also got a glimpse of the Battle Pass system, so there will be post-launch content and progression for players who want to stick around long term. If you're eager to get your hands on it before September, there is a closed alpha test being hosted this month. To take part in the test, you'll need to join Bungie's official Marathon Discord server, and even if you miss that round of testing, there's a good chance a public beta will be available later this year. What are your thoughts on Marathon? What are your thoughts on the price? I mean, it's not going to be as high as a AAA game, but you're going to have to pay for it. So I do kind of wonder if it's going to be off-putting, because you can play Apex and Fortnite and other games, other live service games for free. So is that going to be a bit of a problem? Hopefully not for Bungie and the studio. They seem to know what they're doing. I mean, they've been doing this for the last 10 years, right, in terms of live service games. To be fair, it's not my kind of game, so I'm not going to criticize it. I'll let you guys decide how it plays when it comes out, and you can tell me if it's a good game or not. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and let's move on. Ubisoft just dropped a new update for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and if you're playing on the PS5 Pro, this might be one of the best looking console experiences out there right now. In a deep dive post on the official PlayStation blog, Ubisoft's technical director Pierre Fortin went into detail about what this update actually brings to the table, and he didn't hold back, calling the PS5 Pro version the ultimate console experience and saying it can even compete with ultra high-end gaming PCs. Now, that's a bold claim, but when you think about it, a top-of-the-line gaming PC can cost several thousands of dollars or pounds, and while the PS5 Pro is just a fraction of that price. So getting close to that kind of visual quality on a console is pretty impressive stuff. So what's actually changed with the update? First of all, Assassin's Creed Shadows now supports ray trace reflections in balanced mode, which runs at 40 frames per second. If you're unfamiliar with ray tracing, it basically means making light, reflections, and shadows look a lot more realistic. It's a kind of visual tech you'll usually only see on very high-end gaming PCs. Secondly, the game now uses PSSR, which is PlayStation's spectral super resolution. This is Sony's own upscaling technology that uses AI to boost lower resolution images up to 4K without losing that quality. It's a big step up from the previous TAA, which stands for Temporal Anti-Aliasing Method, which would sometimes make visuals look a little soft or blurry. Fortin said that Ubisoft's team always thought PSSR would offer better results, so they worked closely with Sony to make that happen. With the help of Sony's engineering team and using the latest PS5 Pro firmware, they fine-tuned the latest technology for the best results. And the results? Well, a sharper, cleaner image with fewer shimmering or flickering effects. It's a more stable visual experience all around, and that really helps when you're exploring big, detailed open-world environments like the ones in Assassin's Creed Shadows. So if you've been playing the game on a standard PS5 or haven't checked it out yet, this update might be the push you need to jump into the game, especially if you're on the PS5 Pro. I played this at the weekend following the recent update, and it is stunning. If you want to play the best looking game on the PS5 right now, go and play Assassin's Creed Shadows. And finally, we have the PS Plus Extra and Premium April 2025 lineup. This time round, we've got 8 games in total spread across the PS Plus Extra and Premium tiers. There are a couple of new releases and some recognizable titles in the mix. The biggest title here is Hogwarts Legacy. This is the open world action RPG set in the Harry Potter universe. It launched a couple of years back and was a massive hit at the time, so while it's a great addition for anyone who may have missed the game, chances are a lot of players have already played it or purchased the game. Still, for new subscribers or anyone who's skipped it, it's a fantastic game and a great time to be playing it. We also have a couple of new games. Lost Records Bloom and Rage is the second part of a story-driven game from Don't Nod, the same team behind Life is Strange. It follows a group of teenagers and dives deep into mystery and emotion. So if you're into narrative-heavy games, this one might catch your eye. The other game is Blueprints, which is a highly rated indie puzzler that's been getting some really good word of mouth. So if you like unique puzzle mechanics and a little bit of mystery, it's worth a shot. Other games this month are EA Sports PGA Tour, which is in the mix, though it's probably only going to appeal to golfing fans. We also have Battlefield 1, the World War I era shooter from DICE. This is also joining the lineup. It's a bit older now, but it still holds up well with its large-scale battles and classic multiplayer chaos. We then have PlayStation, which is a fast-paced co-op cooking game that's surprisingly addictive. It's like Overcooked, but with some restaurant management thrown in. So it's a really fun game if you're into these kind of games. For those on the PS Plus Premium, there are 2 throwback titles. Alone in the Dark 2, a classic horror game that's got some old school charm if you're into vintage survival horror, and War of the Monsters, a cult favourite brawler where giant monsters fight it out in destructible city environments. It's a bit of a hidden gem for fans of gaming in the early 2000s. But that's it for the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below about the topics discussed in today's video. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.